The Sciforror Film Podcast. Hello and welcome to the Sciforror Film Podcast. I am Andy Walker, as you may well know or not, depending on whether you have ever listened to or heard or seen or anything this thing before or not. I don't know. Anyway, I'm here with my son Scott. Hello, Scott.
Hello. Sorry, I'll do that again. Hello there.
Hello.
I don't know what happened to my voice.
I don't know. How are you?
Yeah, I don't know how to put it into words.
Okay.
I'm okay, but I just don't know how to put it into words to clarify that.
Okay. It's still hot here,
Yes.
despite the fact that the temperature seems to have dropped and that we've had some rain. It still seems to be blooming hot. I don't quite understand how that works.
Yeah.
I need to put some powder on my head. Look, my sweat is making my head shine. What? I don't know. Anyway, this week we are looking at two short horror films and a longer feature-length science fiction-y film. So, on with the motley, as they say, and up with the first of the three and all that. So our first film is a short horror film from 2021, and it's called Take a Look. It's done by Super Freak Media.
Yeah, I will admit, this is looking at the people that made it. It's almost one of my favourite people named for a company at the moment.
Super Freak Media.
Super Freak Media.
I like that. The cast is Tonya Toseland and Charlie Brintnell. Now, there isn't actually a synopsis for this with the video on YouTube. So, let's go straight into things. What did you think?
I was actually a little bit torn with it. Like when I first started watching it, it goes along the sort of it's a found box film sort of thing. So she finds a box, there's stuff inside it, and the sort of things start going a bit funny when she opens the box. And I thought, oh, okay, this is gonna be another one of them films. It's done so many times, but the angles, the camera angles, I will admit, at the beginning seemed very bizarre and just sort of very odd. And I was trying to figure out as well why at the beginning it focused on the apple when she took a bite of it, and it confused me until obviously explained it a bit later on.
Yeah,
and I don't see. As well, I don't know whether or not it's because of the way that I was watching it or what, but the little bit of speech that was in it seemed very quiet compared to the sound effects.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's really my only downside to this.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very well used, very well worn sort of like horror thing, and the found box in the attic, and then the weird things start happening when she opens it and looks through it. But it is incredibly well done.
Yeah, some of the shots as well they got with when she's using the little lens.
Yeah,
and she's moved. Well, obviously, for the people watching, it's meant to be so she's moving it over the top of her eye. The way that that's done and the effects they used on it, it's so well done.
Yeah.
I love that bit.
And so, I mean, I think the thing that got me was the beginning of it seems to have, well, all the way through, when you're just seeing it, it's got a very natural look to it. It looks like you're just watching something happening. It doesn't look like a film, if you like.
Yeah.
But as you say, some of the camera angles are really quite incredible. They're just very different sort of camera shots and camera angles, and I think they
Mm.
really work well. The effects as well. I think the effects work very well in this. As you say, the camera effects with the when she's looking through the lens thing, the effects of just the makeup and the sort of like the character effects and that sort of thing are really
Yeah,
done well. Um, the whole thing, I think, works really well, and it's a lot longer than I thought it was going to be.
yeah. It it,
Um,
it didn't. It's weird though because obviously watched the film and I sat there and you type it in, I looked in, it come up with the time, and I thought, okay, this is gonna fly by quite quickly. But the film actually is very deceptive. Like with the stuff they put into it, it seems like it's a lot longer.
yeah,
Or for me, it felt like it was a lot longer,
yeah,
but
yeah,
it wasn't. And I was the stuff that was in it. I just thought it was so well done for the amount of detail, amount of stuff they put into it for not actually that long of a film compared to the ones that we have seen.
yeah.
But it's still sort of a reasonably lengthed film for sure.
Oh, yeah. No, I agree. And I just think it doesn't feel like it's too long, but
No.
it is longer than you think it's. It feels longer than you think it's going to be. But it's just I like some of the ideas in it as well.
Mm.
The whole thing of her being transported out of the house is quite a weird sort of like
Yeah,
thing I wasn't expecting.
it's there was a bit of it's very weird. Like the way that they use the lens as well to show the sort of the different states of the things you were looking at, like the flowers and the apple and all that.
Yeah,
I've got to admit that I don't get freaked out there very easily with films, and I don't know what it was about it, but the dog freaked the life out of me,
yeah.
and I
Those
really
are a
don't
bit
know
like
why.
that. Those are a bit like that. You know that.
Yeah, but the thing is, I've watched a lot of films with sort of the whole creepy possessed doll sort of thing, and they've never really bothered me. But this one just, I don't know what it was. It just freaked me out a bit.
Yeah. No, no, I know what you mean. I really like it though. I'm gonna have to look up some more stuff by them and see what what their other stuff like because I don't think we've done anything by them before.
No, I don't think we have. I would say
Uh,
I do agree with you though. The makeup, and I think it's a mask.
yeah,
If not, then it's a very good makeup
yeah, yeah.
artist. But if it does look like a mask, but even that is very well done.
It is. It really works well. I really like it. So yeah, I definitely recommend that one. Okay, so the second film is so, and again a horror film from 2021. Although this is on Alta, so again like Dust, Alta
Yeah.
sometimes put stuff up on there, and you get the date that's been put on there rather than the date it was actually made or whatever. And this is a film called A Sickness.
Mm.
It's a film. It's Code Media, KODE Media, film made by Guy Soulsby. He was the writer and director. Director of photography is Michael uh, Paleo, Paleodimos, something like that. The cast: David Langham and Ethan Story. The synopsis for this says Stephen lives a solitary life, a loner, a man who keeps himself to himself and is governed by routine and order. All things have their place and for good reason, as a dark secret lurks beneath his feet.
Mm.
Now, I really like this film. I think the atmosphere is great, and it's got a really good twist to it that turns the
Yeah.
whole story on its head. And it was an unexpected twist as well. That's what got me. I really
Yeah.
wasn't expecting it at all.
No, I did the same thing. I was sitting there watching it, and I was like, the way that it's portrayed,
Yeah,
I was sitting there watching. I was like, this is a very sort of almost very sort of controversial subject. The way it looked like it was going to be the sort of child abduction sort of bit,
yeah,
and I was like, okay, I'm not too sure about this, but the twist with it, and I was like, I sat there after, I was like, and I it was almost a bit confusing because I was sitting there like, what? and it just sort of I had to sort of go back a little bit, and I'm like, no, but that's exactly what I saw, and the twist just threw me completely.
Yeah. Oh, I know. It's got a great look to it, and the atmosphere, the acting, and everything. It's just like so right.
Yeah.
It just looks great, and the effects as well. That I mean, I just love it. I can't think of anything about this film that I don't like.
No, we'll
It's
say
really well made. It's really good.
I will say again, like we've watched so many films that with good acting in it, and we've said before with the children actors that are in this, but the boy that's in this with that
Yeah,
plays sort of the victim and
yeah.
not as well. It's very very good acting from him.
Oh,
It wouldn't surprise me if like years to come you see him in things and if he is a very good actor. And like for the stuff that was going on as well is it's very hard. It's very sort of easy to sort of get lost in that and have that sort of look of fear, even though you know what's going on. But
it's
it was
what I
it was
find
amazing.
one of the things I found interesting is the fact that it made me think afterwards that it's like the guy who's playing the main lead man in it, the guy Stephen.
Mm.
He's got a look about him that you automatically think he's a weirdo.
Yeah,
And that made me feel really bad because it was like, I try so hard not to judge people just on the way they look.
I
But I
did the exact
realized afterwards that I'd already done that.
yeah I did the exact same thing. I sat there with like you sort of see that his routine and what he starts doing. And you're a bit like this is a bit odd.
Yeah,
And then when he starts staring at his door, the one of the doors that he's got, and you sit there like, oh, hang on, there's something funny about him. And I did the same thing. I sort of jumped to conclusions like he's a bit of a weirdo, really.
yeah,
And then seeing his reaction to the newspaper that's in it, and I was like, oh. And I did the same thing. I almost jumped to conclusion like, all right, he's the bad guy.
yeah,
He's the bad guy. He's the one that's going to be doing like all the things that like all the bad things and horrible things and stuff like that.
yeah,
And I sat there and I sat at the end of it and I was like, I did the same like sort of thought the same thing. I was like, I've always tried to sort of never judge anyone by the way they look or the way they
yeah,
sort of dress or anything like that. And and I sat there and was like, I did that.
yeah,
Whether or not it's meant to be like the fact you do that in this film, you automatically go and feel that. But I did. I sat there afterwards like I felt really bad.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I think it's a really good film, and I think it's good that it makes you feel that way because of the fact that it kind of makes you think about the way you view people and things.
Yeah.
I really love it. I think it's a great film.
It's,
It's definitely worth a watch.
what I liked about it as well is that main thing I loved about it is obviously the twist, but the very very end scene
Mm.
with the the attack that happens. You don't actually see it. Obviously, you hear it, and I've
Yeah,
got to admit,
yeah,
I did laugh a little bit at the noises that were being made.
yeah,
But
yeah,
the blood spatter happens. You don't see what fully happens. It's just obviously the effects on the aftermath of it, and obviously it's another thing that leads your brain into sort of leads your head into in your imagination into what's going on.
yeah,
I think the way they've done that is very well done. It's not sort of disappointing because of the fact it's not what you've imagined, so it's your own imagination that's making it up of how it's happened.
yeah, yeah. No, it works really well. I really like it. Really like it. Okay, on to our feature film. This is a science fiction film from the year 1994, and it is a film called The Puppet Masters. The director was Stuart Orme. He did lots of music videos originally and some TV stuff in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, and 2010s. And he was also the director of a film, although it was a children's film, it is actually kind of about werewolves and things. It's called The Wolves of Willoughby Chase, which is actually quite a good film. Now, the writers, the actual story that it's based on was written by Robert A. Heinlein. He wrote the novel. He did wrote other stuff that was turned into TV stuff in the 50s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s. He wrote the original stories, Destination Moon, which for the films Destination Moon in 1950, Project Moonbase 1958, The Brain Eaters 1958, which is basically based on the same story as this film, even though it's not credited. He was, of course, the writer of Starship Troopers, which was in 1997, and Starship Troopers Invasion in 2012 rather. Predestination was one of his short stories, which was mainly for film in 2014, and The Door into Summer, which was 2021. Now, the screenplay was written by Ted Elliott and Terry Rossio. Now, I'm going to go through some of this stuff. Both of them were responsible for the screenplays, or some way the writing of the following films. Little Monsters in 1989, Godzilla 1998, Small Soldiers 1998, Treasure Planet 2002, Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of Black Pearl 2003, Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest 2006, Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End 2007, Pirates of the Caribbean Stranger Tides 2011, Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Men Tell No Tales 2017, and Terry Rossio also wrote the screenplay for Godzilla and Kong, Godzilla versus Kong in 2021.
Wow.
So that's not bad.
No.
The other person who was involved in the writing of this was a guy called David S. Goyer. He wrote stuff for TV in the 90s, 2000s, 2010s, 2020s. He also wrote screenplays or had to do with the writing of the following films: Demonic Toys in 1992, Dollman versus Demonic Toys in 1993, The Crow City of Angels 1996, Dark City 1998, Nick Fury Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. in 1998, Blade 1998, Blade 2 2002, Blade Trinity 2004, Puppet Master versus Demonic Toys 2004, Batman Begins 2005, Jumper 2008, The Dark Knight 2008, The Unborn 2009, Demonic Toys Personal Demons 2010, Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance 2011, Devil Dolls 2012, The Dark Knight Rises 2012, Man of Steel 2013, Godzilla 2014, Batman vs Superman Dawn of Justice 2016, Terminator Dark Fate 2019, Hellraiser 2022, and Masters of the Universe, which is due out in 2024. So that's a few odd things there, but there you go. Right.
Wow.
On to the cast. The cast, first of all, is the main man, Donald Sutherland. Now, Donald Sutherland did some films in the did some TV, sorry, in the 60s, 2000s, and 2010s. He also was in Castle of the Living Dead in 1964, Dr. Terror's House of Horrors, 1965, Die, Die, My Darling, 1965, The Shuttered Room, 1967, Don't Look Now, 1973, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, 1978, Threshold, 1981, Apprentice to Murder, 1988, Buffy the Vampire Slayer in 1992, The Life Force Experiment in 1994, Outbreak 1995, Fallen 1998, Virus 1999, Space Cowboys the year 2000, Final Fantasy The Spirits Within 2001, An American Haunting 2005, Puffball The Devil's Eyeball in 2007, Astro Boy 2009, The Hunger Games 2012, The Hunger Games Catching Fire 2013, Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 1 2014, and Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2 2015, Ad Astra 2019, Alone 2020, Moonfall 2022, and Mr. Harrigan's Phone in 2022. So that's not a bad thing. We then have Eric Thal, who I'm sure I know the name of, but I haven't got a clue where from. The only film I found with him in that was introduced to us is a film called The Shaft in 2001. So I don't know why I know him. There you go. Then we have Julie Warner, who did some TV stuff in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s. She was in Flatliners in 1990, Radio Free Abolmouth in 2010, and Unbelievable in 2020. And we have Kevin David. Oh, sorry, Keith David. Why did I say Kevin? I don't know. Keith David, who did some TV stuff in the 90s, 2000s, 2010s, and 2020s, and some video game things. He was in The Thing in 1982. They Live in 1988. Todd McFarlane's Spawn, which was a video, straight to video thing in 1997. Volcano, 1997. Armageddon 1998, Todd McFarlane's Spawn 2 in 1998, and Todd McFarlane's Spawn 3 in 1999. Pitch Black 2000, Final Fantasy The Spirits Within 2001, The Chronicles of Riddick 2004, The Last Sentinel 2007, Coraline 2009, Gamer 2009, Chain Letter 2010, Animen The Galactic Battle 2012, Cloud Atlas 2012, Smiley 2012, Sons of Liberty 2013, Union Furnace 2015, V Force The New Dawn of Victory 2017, You Might Be the Killer 2018, Insight 2021, The Seventh Day 2021, Black as Night 2021, Nope 2022, DC League of Super Pets in 2022, and From the Shadows in 2022. Busy boy.
Yeah, just a bit.
Then we have Will Patton, who did some TV stuff in the 80s, 90s, 2000, 2010s, 2020s. He was in Armageddon in 1998, the Mothman Prophecies in 2002, The Punisher 2004, The Fourth Kind 2009, Boarding School 2018, Halloween 2018, Radio Flash 2019, The Devil Below 2021, The Forever Purge 2021, Halloween Kills 2021, and Halloween Ends in 2022. We have Richard Belzer, who was in TV stuff in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s. He was in Not of This Earth in 1995 and Species 2 in 1998. You've got Tom Mason, who did some TV stuff in the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, and was in a series, a film called The Aliens Are Coming in 1980. That was it for him. And lastly, we have Yaphet Kotto, who did TV stuff in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s. He was in Alien in 1979, Warning Sign 1985, Tomorrow's a Killer 1987, The Running Man in 1987, and Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare in 1991.
Oh, yes.
Bless you.
Okay.
Now, the synopsis for this says, the Earth is invaded by stingray-shaped slugs that ride on people's backs and control their minds. As I say, the story was used for the basis for the 1958 film The Brain Eaters, but it was uncredited on that film for some reason. I think maybe they didn't actually have the rights to use it, but decided to use it anyway. I could be wrong. Possibly. So, what did you think? Because this is a film I'd never seen before.
No, I
And
haven't.
I kind of have an idea about 1990s sci-fi films. They're not the greatest, but some of them were good, but some of them were a bit meh. What did you think of this?
Yeah, see, obviously this film coming out when it did, I didn't actually watch it properly when it did. Obviously, I was only 3, but I agree with you. For a lot of other 90s films that I've watched, especially early 90s, they're not the best films in the world. Obviously, they're a lot better than some of the ones we watched from the 70s and all that, but there's still obviously there's a few that are not the best. And I hate to admit it, but I did the whole thing of, this is an early 90s film is going to be awful. But I don't know. It's weird. It had moments where I was a bit confused what was going on for a little while, but it was weird because I'm so used to the films especially a lot of films from a few films from the early 90s that take forever to sort of anything to happen, and or they spend a long time explaining what's going on, and it's sort of the last sort of half hour, 40 minutes is probably all the action bit of it. But this film, it seemed to be from like the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
and it seemed to be like obviously it's broken up the whole way through it, but it seemed to be like the whole way through there's a lot of action going on, and it's very weird. I did have a sort of feel of like an invasion of the body snatchers sort of feel to it,
Yes. Yeah.
but it was a very weird film. It was what done me is the fact that it's it's still sort of true how things are now, how quickly things can spread.
Mm.
And obviously, I know this is meant to be like the fact that if they were doing it to populate, but the fact that how easily it was done, and even now, obviously, like we've done with other viruses and stuff like that, we know the fact that it can spread that quickly, and the way that they were doing it and showing the fact that this is what it was like on the first day, this is what it's like in a week, and this is what it's going to be like in 24 hours and stuff like
Yeah.
that. I thought was very well done. The I don't know whether or not it's how they got it to move or what was going on when they done it, but the movement of the aliens
Mm.
for an earlyish film like that, I thought was very, very well done.
Yeah. I mean, it's the effects. The effects are really quite convincing. The aliens look very convincing, and the effects are really well done. As you say, I don't know. It's kind of. I get what you're saying about there is a certain similarity to the invasion of the body snatchers idea,
Yeah,
and I can see that, but it's different enough that it doesn't really matter, if you know
yeah,
what I mean, because they're not replacing them with like exact
no,
replicas in the same way as they are in Invasion of the Body Snatchers. It's a different thing, but I was really pleasantly surprised by this film because I really wasn't sure what to expect from it. I think it's a very good film. There's a few cliches, to be honest. There are always going to be a few cliches in it, and there's a few bits which, for a serious film, are quite funny. Namely, my favourite one being the slug creature thing, alien creature being spun round the bloke's office on the ceiling fan. That was
yeah,
quite funny. I quite liked that. But they managed to avoid a lot of the stereotypical sort of sci-fi things. The woman in it isn't this kind of like
he
um
isn't a damsel.
yeah, she's not a damsel in distress. She's not it's not like she doesn't know what she's doing, or she's like always needing them to help her. She really is fully part of the action,
Yeah,
and is heavily involved in it. um I really like it. It's also what gets me. It's a very rare thing as far as an American 1990s film goes. American films in 1990s, horror films and science fiction films, always seem to have this thing of leaving a thing at the end so that the possibility of there being a sequel.
yeah.
Don't know if there's going to be, but there might be. They always leave, but this one doesn't. There's
No,
a definite end to it.
yeah. See, I had that feeling when he comes to the end and sort of Donald Sullivan's character sort of goes to fly off. I was like,
Yeah,
oh, okay, this is gonna be to be continued, and and I sat there like, and then when it ended, I was like, okay, and obviously when they said, well, even they sort of they make a point of it in like at the end of it, so
yeah,
like we don't know if that's the last one, and he goes, no, that
yeah,
was I know it was the last one, and I was like, that's it's very rare, especially even nowadays, it's very rare for a film to wrap itself up that well
yeah,
without
yeah,
leaving any chance of there being a sequel or like a way of carrying it on or whatever.
yeah. It's I really, really like it. I like the film because it, as you say, it's got a lot of action in it. It's got a lot of, and the story is really well done. It's really well handled. It's kind of, yeah. As I say, there are a couple of bits in it that are a little bit silly, a couple of bits that are a little bit cliched, but you're always going to get that sort of thing because it's difficult to avoid them, I think.
Yeah,
But it, it it's an interesting film with lots of
yeah,
action and lots of kind of uh there's a lot to like about this film,
mm,
and I really like it. I really enjoyed watching it, and I know whilst it's not a film that I would turn around and say oh, I've got to watch that again. If I was to go somewhere and someone said, "Oh, what's let's watch a sci-fi film," I'd say, "Oh, have you seen this? It's a
Yeah,
film." And so it's. I think it's got a lot going for it, and it really, I really enjoyed it. I really think it's a great film. It's well made, um, and everybody in it is really good. Nobody in it seems out of place. If you know what I mean?
I will say there's one bit in this that proper made me chuckle, and it's just mainly because of the fact that I had to turn. It's just the sort of the way my brain works, and I turned around and went, "Well, that doesn't help." But when near the end, when oh, Keith and Eric's characters
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
go like they're all military up, and they're going to try and find go into the hive, and Eric goes to walk off, and he turns around and goes, "Oh, how do I know if it's you?" Which is a very, very good point. Like, this whole thing is the fact that they're not being taken over, they're being controlled. There's no way of telling fully what's going on.
yeah,
And Eric's character doesn't actually turn around and say, "Well, let's think of this." He just turns around and goes, "Well, if it's not, you know what to do." But
yeah.
that's not helpful.
No,
What's helpful is to say, "Oh, let's come up with an idea or a way of going. Well, let's make sure."
yeah,
But then to sit there and go, "Well, if it's not me," like, how is he going to know if it's not you?
yeah.
And I sat there and he said it. I was like, "That's not helpful."
No, it's not
It's,
good.
I sat there afterwards. I was like, for about a couple of minutes of the film, I was like, "But he's not going to know."
No,
And it's just
no.
sort of it sort of bugged me a bit, and I was like, "Oh, for God's sake!" But what I liked is the fact that my problem is that for it, and I don't know whether or not it's because again I watch a lot of sci-fi films and I sort of see it coming, but when they did the whole, we need to find a way to defeat them,
Yeah,
and I thought, okay, it's going to be something that only humans can deal with that these can't. It's going to be something on Earth,
yeah,
and I did the whole. Admittedly, I got the disease wrong. I will admit, got the disease wrong, but I did call the fact that it's because one of them was ill.
yeah. I mean, it's a well used thing, and it's kind of
Yeah,
and yeah, but it's done in a way that makes it interesting, I think, rather than quite often in that sort of thing. He kind of it's just like, oh, he had a cold, they're all dead.
yeah. It
You
was
know
the
what I
bit.
mean? It's,
I did say, I thought to myself like, it's going to be a common cold.
yeah,
Normally, what happens in these films. But then, even when it sort of, like said, explained what it was, it's like when how to defeat them. I was like, okay, yeah, that's a very good way to defeat them because these slugs are meant to be like 70% brain or whatever it was.
yeah,
And I sat there afterwards, I was like, but the illness they're giving these people is not one that's, if they miss it by a couple of minutes, is not one they're going to be easily able to get over.
yeah,
Like with a cold or something like that, yeah, you can infect them and you can
yeah,
give them antibiotics and stuff like that. But they were basically given inflammation of the brain, which is
yeah.
very, very dangerous.
It is dangerous, but I mean, you're looking at sort of saving the entire universe or the entire world. I
Yeah,
suppose you have to take these slightly dangerous measures. Maybe I don't know. Um, but no, yeah, I know what you mean, and I do kind of take it. There's a couple of, as I say, there are a couple of bits that are a bit kind of like there are things like that, and they're a little bit kind of you just kind of go, oh, I've seen that or seen that before, but
yeah,
they avoid so many of the other typical
yeah,
stereotypes that I think that you can almost forgive them that kind of. And I've never read the story. It's interesting because I've read a lot of Robert Heinlein stuff, and I've never read this book or this story, so I don't know
no,
how it works out in the book. I'd like to actually get hold of a copy of it and read it now and see what it what it actually is, what's like in the book.
yeah,
Um,
just
I'm also going to have to make a thing about trying to see the original like the Brain Eaters
yeah,
and see what the difference is. I mean, obviously the effects and all that sort of thing are going to be completely different because that was made in 1958. So it's
yeah.
but it'd be interesting to see what happens.
It's very interesting though to see as well the sort of progression. Like we've seen it before with a few of the other films we've watched. Is the fact like especially the earlier films, so like the ones from the 60s and 70s. Only a select few that have gone on and done other things.
Yeah, yeah,
This is again another one that it's not really that old when you think about it. It's okay, yeah, it's almost 30 years old, but it's not compared to some of the other ones that
Yeah,
we've reviewed and done it. But the fact that even in the 30 years, there's still a lot of the people in this film
yeah.
that haven't actually gone on and done massive amounts.
No, no.
Like there's one or
Agree.
two, maybe three that have gone on and done other films and done TV and stuff like that. But there's other like the rest of them are sort of are still doing like extra work or cameo appearances
Oh,
or
yeah.
like background
Mhm.
work, and it's just sort of it's very weird to see still.
Yeah. No, I agree. I know exactly what you mean. It's it's an interesting thing. I think one of the interesting things for me is the fact that Donald Sutherland was in this, which is made from the same story as the 1958 film The Brain Eaters, and he was also in the remake of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which was also based on a 1950s science fiction
Yeah,
film. So that's quite an interesting connection with the two. But as I say, there are enough there's enough differences between them for it not to be a problem.
yeah.
Um, but I really like it, and I would definitely recommend this film to people to watch. So there you go, 3 good films. We had Take a Look, which is a good little short film from 2021. Sickness, another good short horror film from 2021, and The Puppet Masters from 1994. Definitely recommend to people to watch all 3 of those.
Yes.
They're very good films to watch. And like that, next week we are going to be doing something else. We have again 2 short films and a longer one, but we're going to go back long ways back. We're going back to a nice old-fashioned bit of horror for our feature film. It's going to be 1958 film called The Screaming Skull.
Okay.
Nice bit of black and white horror.
Oh yeah.
Well, it might be good, it might not be. I don't know. We have to wait and see. You travel around this globe and the timescape, finding and plucking these little cherries from the history of motion pictures, some of which are sweet and ripe, some of which are sour and slightly meh, and a few are completely manky and unedible or inedible. But hopefully none of them are Starship Invasions, which is now taken over from
Humanoid to the deep, yes.
yes, Humanoid to the Deep. So thank you very much for joining in and chattering and stuff like that, young Scott, my lad.
That's okay. Glad I could be part of it.
No idea what I'm talking about. We will, yes, as I say, we will be back next week. And until then, have yourself a merry little Christmas. No, that's not right. It's nowhere near Christmas. What are you talking about, imbecile? Have a lovely time. And we will be back again someday, somehow, somewhere. Bye.
Bye.
The Sciforror Film Podcast.